Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing another episode of Pokemon Chronicles, the Blue Badge of Courage. Yet another episode focusing on Misty. The episode begins with Misty tending to her duties in the Cerulean Gym, officially being the leader there now, with the main duty that she was currently doing at the moment being her duty of feeding all the water Pokemon in the aquarium, as she climbed up a ladder with Togepi and Psyduck watching from down below as she fed some of the Pokemon in the aquarium, including her Horsey, who was very happy to receive food. Misty then took the opportunity of being around her Horsey to make sure it was doing good, greeting it happily, and Horsey confirmed it was doing good by nodding its head. She happily says goodbye to her Horsey next, as she goes on to feed some other water Pokemon, though not before making sure her Togepi was good as well, making sure it didn't fall off the table it was on. Misty then left the aquarium area and went in to the main pool area where Seal was, so she could feed it as well, which she did, very happy with her current job. Psyduck and Togepi joined her by the seal as Misty fed it, with Togepi peacefully sitting on another table, while Psyduck, on the other hand, got bored and decided to walk off by the pool. Unfortunately, Psyduck slipped, not focusing on where it was walking, and fell into the pool, causing it to go utterly apeshit. Misty comes to Psyduck's aid as she pulls it out of the pool before it drowns and lays it down by the poolside, scolding it that it needed to learn how to fucking swim already, so that Misty wouldn't have to worry about it falling in anymore. Stating that learning to swim should have been easy as fuck for it, since it was a water type, and to this day, she still didn't understand why Psyduck hated the water so much. Misty then stops scolding Psyduck as she hears a familiar voice coming from the door of the gym, so she runs there to find none other than Tracy, much to her delight, as she hadn't seen him in a long time and questioned why he was here, leading Tracy to inform her that Oak told him to come and help study the water Pokemon, and also help Misty in the process, because Ash had told Oak during one of their phone calls apparently that Misty was now the Cerulean gym leader, or she was supposed to be, so Oak was like, Misty may not be able to do this on her own, so I'll send Tracy to help out. Misty then states, although somewhat embarrassed, so she laughs, that she couldn't get her Psyduck to swim, still, no matter how many times she encouraged it or what she did, reminding Tracy that Psyduck was super scared of the water, and asked if Tracy could perhaps help her with this, and Tracy agreed, assuring Misty that he had a plan to help Psyduck swim. So, Tracy, Misty, Togepi, and Psyduck went over to the pool and tried to encourage Psyduck to get motivated to swim by having it do some basic swim techniques and exercises with its arms, such as circular motions. However, Psyduck didn't understand what it was supposed to do, being dumb as fuck, so Misty leaned down and grabbed Psyduck to move its arms in the way that Tracy was moving them. So, technically, Psyduck was doing the swimming movements, though it was essentially being controlled like a puppet by Misty. Tracy decides that the only way he could truly teach Psyduck to do some swimming techniques was if it actually got in the water. So he took his shirt off and got in the water, instructing Psyduck to come in as well. However, Psyduck obviously refused, so Misty had to put it in, hoping that Psyduck would soon get used to the water. However, the moment Psyduck's feet touched the water, Psyduck immediately screamed in terror and jumped out of Misty's arms, running away from the pool, forcing Misty to bring Psyduck back, only managing to do so after she ran after it. Misty was about to try and put Psyduck back in the pool, holding onto it to make sure it wouldn't escape, but Psyduck just kept freaking out every time its feet touched. So Tracy suggested that they may have to find a more fun way to get Psyduck used to the water, and proceeded to put a life preserver on Psyduck so that it could float in the water without worrying about drowning, much like they did during that one episode back in Johto where Misty challenged that unofficial water gym. Yeah, I remember that. Well, even though the life preserver worked that time, and it did work that time, as Psyduck happily swam around, enjoying itself, because if you remember, Psyduck did want to swim, it was just terrified. Psyduck's happiness was cut off, as Tracy thought that Psyduck was now used to the water enough, so he and Misty tried to encourage Psyduck to learn to breathe underwater, as Tracy put his face in the water and encouraged Psyduck to do the same. Psyduck was of course hesitant, although Misty took off the life preserve so that Psyduck could put its face under the water, but when Psyduck did, the second its beak touched the water, it screamed and jumped out of the pool before it could drown, running across the gym again, forcing Tracy and Misty to run after it, with Misty running first and Tracy following. While all this was going on inside the gym, outside the gym, none other than Sakura, the girl with the Espeon, who had the sisters with the other evolutions that Misty befriended back in Ecruteak City in Johto, had currently showed up and was staring at the Cerulean City gym side, and immediately looked at her map and told her Espeon, who was standing beside her, that they finally reached their destination. This had to have been the Cerulean City gym, just as the map described. Sakura had been collecting gym badges, just as she said she was going to do, and was ready to challenge the Cerulean gym now, hearing that Misty was the leader. So she asked Espeon if it was ready as well, and Espeon nodded, ready to see Misty and get the Cascade badge, as the two of them walked inside. She didn't immediately see Misty though, so she called out for her. Despite her calls for Misty though, she was instead met by the running away Psyduck, as Psyduck smashed directly into her face, knocking her down. Misty and Tracy quickly catch up to Psyduck and encounter Sakura, who help her to her feet and take her to the gym's locker room to rest after the hit that she sustained. Soon enough, Sakura recovers, and Misty begins talking to her, stating how she was very glad to see her, and apologizes for Psyduck's behavior, as she lightly punches Psyduck on the head. Sakura accepted Misty's apology, not wanting Psyduck to get hurt, as Misty then questioned why Sakura was in the area, leading Sakura to remind Misty of her goal to challenge gym leaders and get their badges. So she decided to come to Cerulean Gym. This led Misty to question why Sakura chose to come to Cerulean Gym, especially believing that she was going to challenge all the Johto gyms first. Sakura admitted that she was initially going to stick to Johto gyms first, and clarified that she had been to some, but when she heard that Misty was the new Cerulean gym leader, she felt the need to rush there immediately, wanting a rematch with Misty, now that Sakura had better battle skills. As you may expect, Tracy was very confused by this whole conversation between Misty and Sakura, as he had never met Sakura before, and didn't know of her and Misty's interactions. So, he tried to jump into the conversation, waving, but before he could introduce himself, Misty introduced him for him, introducing him as Tracy. Sakura was seemingly surprised at this, as she remarked how she didn't know that Misty had found a new boyfriend, believing that Tracy had to have been a new boyfriend since she'd never seen him before. However, Misty gets embarrassed, along with Tracy, and simply clarifies, laughing off what Sakura just said, that Tracy was just a friend helping her out, who she and Ash had met during their travels in the Orange Islands, clarifying that the reason why Tracy was helping her out was because he knew a lot about Pokemon, being Professor Oak's assistant. Sakura became overjoyed at this, claiming that she always wanted to meet Professor Oak, and believed that whoever his assistant was must have been just as knowledgeable as him. Misty laughed, claiming that although Tracy was good, Oak was still better, and even Tracy admitted this. But he obviously didn't want to continue to sell himself too short, so he quickly changed the subject, asking how Misty and Sakura met, leaving Misty to explain, as we see a flashback that showcases Ecotrix City and its infamous towers. And we see Sakura encounter Misty, Brock, and Ash the first time before they initially met the rest of her sisters, and also the time after that, when her and Misty bonded, when she found out that Sakura had got Espeon. As Tracy heard about everything that Espeon did against Team Rocket in the flashback, Tracy wanted to know more about it, so he asked Sakura about it, leading Sakura to just laugh, as she didn't know what to say, aside from the fact that it was her strongest and most loyal Pokemon, with Tracy commenting that it did indeed look really well trained, as it didn't seem like it would disobey her at all, and Misty agreed with this, wishing that she could say the same for Psyduck. Misty, knowing that Sakura wanted to battle with her, then showed Sakura the battlefield, being the pool, and added that it was also the home of all of the water Pokemon in the gym. Sakura was impressed by the size of the pool and the amount of water Pokemon inside, but stated that Misty wasn't the only one who had improved due to having a whole new arsenal of water Pokemon on her side, as Sakura had improved as well, having already earned a few badges, like she said before, and she specifies which badges these were, as she showed Misty her badge case that had the Zephyr, Hive, and Storm badges from Faulkner, Bugsy, and Chuck, respectively. Misty was impressed by this, so she just became motivated to battle Sakura even more, as she assured Sakura that she had a free afternoon with no set challengers, and she had been fixing up the pool to make sure that it was in perfect battling condition, so she could do the battle with Sakura right now. However, before the battle could begin, Sakura pointed out that Misty didn't have any Cascade badges with her, and asked if she had any. Misty was surprised by this, as she just expected to battle Sakura, forgetting that Sakura probably wanted to challenge her as an official gym battle. It was Tracy who reminded her of this, stating that there'd be no reason for Sakura to battle just for fun if she could get a gym badge from Misty, and Sakura confirmed this, stating that she definitely wanted a Cascade badge since she wasn't actually planning on entering the Pokemon League right away, so she didn't need all of the badges from one specific region. She was actually planning on entering a smaller Pokemon tournament that only required trainers to have 5 badges. That could be from any region. So she was like, oh, I guess I might as well battle Misty then, because I wanted my rematch anyway. Misty, hearing this, agreed, obviously, to battle Sakura with a Cascade badge on the line, and went into the room of the gym where the Cascade badges were always located to go and find one, with Tracy and Sakura following. Unfortunately, when Misty got into the place that was supposed to have the Cascade badges and opened the drawer where they were supposed to be, she found it empty. She was fine with this, though, as she declared that there was likely some extra ones in the secret safe where a secret stash of badges were usually kept, but when she opened the safe, she found that was empty too, so she realized that she had no choice but to phone her sisters from across the world to ask them if they happened to have any other secret locations for the Cascade badges. Thankfully, Daisy, Lily, and Violet pick up, and Misty introduces them to Sakura and explains, like, oh, hey guys, I need a badge for this challenger, but there's no badges left, so where's the other secret stash? Unfortunately, though, the 3 sisters explain that they had no other secret stash, and they must have run out of badges due to all the matches they lost, making Misty annoyed, and whispering to Sakura that this was typical of her sisters, always asking her to do shit, but never leaving her with the correct supplies. How was she supposed to be a gym leader if she didn't have any gym badges to give out? And she was also just annoyed at her sisters for constantly losing. Just then, Misty's sisters actually revealed that although they currently had no more badges, the badges that they always gave out were made by a custom badge maker, also being an artist, from a village known as Riffier Village, and stated that if Misty wanted to get more Cascade badges, then she could just go to the village and have more badges made by the guy. Before Misty can complain about having to go on an errand, her 3 sisters claimed that they were busy and had to go as they hang up. Of course, Misty still complained, even with them being hung up, claiming that she didn't feel like going all the way into another town. Although Tracy, knowing where Riffier Village was, assured Misty that it was just by Cerulean City, so it wouldn't be too far of a journey, and even offered to accompany Misty to keep her company, and Sakura offered as well. So, Misty decided to go and get some badges, with their Pokemon, of course, joining them on the journey as well. Before Misty, Tracy, and Sakura went, though, Misty made sure to close down the gym while she was gone, putting a close sign on it, as she then gave the keys to Nurse Joy, telling her to at least keep the gym cleanly and make sure the Pokemon were taken care of and shit while they were gone. Nurse Joy gladly took the keys to the gym, claiming that she would do her absolute best to look after all the Pokemon. And while Misty was at the Pokemon Center visiting Nurse Joy, she took the opportunity to have Nurse Joy examine her Gyarados to see how it was doing, and so Gyarados and Nurse Joy could reunite after the last special. While Nurse Joy was examining Gyarados, she determined that it should go on a diet for some reason, specifying that Misty couldn't give it any in-between meal snacks. What, had Gyarados been gaining too much weight because Misty loved it so much now? What, like, that's fucking random. Anyways, with Nurse Joy looking after the gym, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura could finally set off, and by evening, they found themselves by a mountain, and according to the map that Misty had Tracy bring with them, this mountain was very close by to Rivier Village. In fact, the village should just be on the other side of the mountain. With that, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura were about to continue their journey to the village, going up the mountain, but then they notice Espeon run the other way, so they turn around and follow it, and eventually they make it to the edge of a cliff, where they see that an old man had fallen down, lying on the grass below the cliff, and Espeon had went to comfort it. So, Tracy, Sakura, and Misty go to comfort the man as well, carrying him back up the cliff. The old man then revealed that he had broken his leg and fallen down the cliff because he was doing his morning exercises, going from tree to tree. Yeah, I don't know why he was doing that, and he fell down, and boom, his leg was then broken. Because of the man's injuries, he requests that Misty, Tracy, and Sakura take him back to his house, and the three of them agree as they carry him there, with the old man directing Sakura's Espeon, who was leading the way to his house. As soon as they get there, Misty, Sakura, and Tracy also bandage up the man's broken leg, putting it in a makeshift cast. The old man thanks them for their help, and asks what they were doing by Rivier Village, leading Misty to ask the old man if he knew if there was a person who could make gym badges, leading the old man to reveal that he didn't, but that was because he was the badge maker, introducing himself as Kinzo. Misty, Tracy, and Sakura obviously got very excited by this, and Misty explained her situation, revealing that she was the current gym leader for Cerulean City. Before Misty can continue, though, Kinzo butted in, being shocked at how Misty was the new gym leader, since he, of course, knew her sisters and didn't know that they had stopped. Misty explains why they were gone, and then continues with what she was trying to say before, being that she was the current gym leader for Cerulean City, but she didn't have any badges to give out, and asked if Kinzo happened to have any more made, or if he could make more, if he didn't. Kinzo gets extremely angry at this, explaining that badge making was hard work, and he wasn't just gonna give them badges for no work, stating that they would have to work extremely hard to earn the badges. Misty, Sakura, and Tracy complained at this, but Kinzo simply replied that arduous work made people recognize value, and badges didn't grow on trees. Essentially, he felt that he shouldn't just give anything away for free. Desperate for the badges, Misty was forced to accept Kinzo's demands, with Tracy and Sakura agreeing to help Misty out, feeling bad for the job she was going to have to do. Kinzo was inspired by people actually accepting his demands, and agreed that he would help teach them how to make badges a little bit, though clarified that badge making started early in the morning, so they should go to bed immediately, inviting them to stay the night since they were helping. Misty, Tracy, and Sakura were very tired, so they were grateful for Kinzo for letting them stay over. However, they didn't get to sleep very long, as they were awoken at 4 a.m. sharp by Kinzo ringing a huge bell. Misty was confused as fuck, still being half asleep, asking what the old man Kinzo was doing this early, leading Kinzo to reveal that it was currently 4 a.m., so it was time for them to start. Everyone was still half asleep, not just Misty, but they were forced to oblige. So, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura get out of bed and expect to go straight to Kinzo's badge workshop, but he stops them and instead orders them all to run around the mountain by his house. Misty, Tracy, and Sakura question why, only for Kinzo to clarify that running on the mountain and around it would help improve circulation, and healthy circulation helps the fingers to obey the brain, which was needed for badge making. They request that Kinzo show them the ropes on how to do some proper running by the mountain, but Kinzo denies this because his leg was broken and still too injured, so he still couldn't do any of that shit. Well, that's convenient, eh? Anyways, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura went over to the mountain and started running up it and down it, along with Espeon. This tired the three of them out immensely. However, as soon as they got back to Kinzo's house, it was revealed that they were not done working, as Kinzo then ordered them to chop wood, explaining that this was necessary because they had to get some wood for a fire to start in the kiln, which was used to heat the metal made for the badges. With the fire started, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura were then taken to the actual workshop and burned some metal inside the fire. Once this was done, they had to remove the burned metal. They had to shape it into a round badge shape by striking it with hammers while it was hot, and then using a file to cut off the spare pieces of metal to make it round, essentially chiseling it. After this came the welding and the torching as well. After that came the final step, the polishing, to make the badges nice and shiny, and by the end of this process, the cascade badges had been made, minus the blue coloring, and the three celebrated that they were able to make one. However, Kinzo was not happy with these badges, explaining that they had to be designed perfectly, and they hadn't been, so he ordered them to get some rest, as it had taken all day to make these, and then wake up early the next morning to try again. Misty, Sakura, and Tracy didn't hesitate to go to bed, as they were extremely exhausted from the day, but they only just got exhausted the next day, when they were annoyedly waken up at 4 a.m. once again by the same bell that Kinzo rang. Kinzo then had them do the exact same routine that they did the day before, to make new badges, even the running part. And thankfully for Misty, Tracy, and Sakura, they actually did a better job at making the badges this time, so Kinzo was pleased, and let them actually paint the badge blue. Misty, Tracy, and Sakura were immensely pleased by this, proud of themselves, but they were soon not happy once again, as Kinzo instructed them to do one more run on the mountain while the badges dried, and they did so, exhausting themselves. And when they came back, they still weren't done, as Kinzo had noticed that the badges weren't shiny enough, so he had Misty, Tracy, and Sakura polish the badges one last time, but with that, they were finally done. Since Kinzo examined them, stating they were worthy badges, and complimenting their badge-making skills, pleasing the three of them. However, Kinzo clarified that they couldn't have the Cascade badges yet, as there was one more test they needed to go through, being a battle with him. Specifically, Kinzo was going to battle Misty, stating that Kinzo would only let Misty take the badges if she was able to prove herself as a gym leader level trainer by doing well against his Pokémon. Misty agreed, really wanting the badges, as they then went out to the mountain again, and Kinzo sent out his Feraligatr, eagerly awaiting Misty to call out one of her Pokémon, wanting to see her strength. Misty had some bitterness towards Kinzo for all of the running that he made her do, so she was glad to have the opportunity to take out her anger by taking out his Feraligatr, and she planned to do so by sending out her Corsola, but as she sent out her Corsola, Psyduck forcibly popped out of its Pokeball instead. Of course, Psyduck didn't do well against Feraligatr, as soon as Psyduck came out, Feraligatr intimidated Psyduck using a scary face, causing Psyduck to get too scared that it ran away and ended up falling down the cliff into a lake after slipping. Misty, Kinzo, Tracy, and Sakura immediately ran down to pull Psyduck out of the water after rushing to Psyduck's aid, but this was unfortunately bad for Misty, because Kinzo was annoyed at the fact that Misty was a water gym leader, yet one of her water Pokemon couldn't swim. Very shocked that it was possible for a water gym leader to have a water type that couldn't swim, and because of this, he adamantly refused to give Misty the Cascade badges, claiming that she wasn't a strong enough gym leader, and stated that he would only give the badges if she could prove herself by making Psyduck swim. Misty was discouraged, and was about to just leave the badges behind, knowing that it would be almost impossible to get Psyduck to swim, but Tracy commented that the three of them had worked too hard to make the badges, so they couldn't give up. So this motivated the three of them to try to teach Psyduck to swim yet again. However, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura didn't even have the flotation device this time, so Psyduck couldn't even get used to the water at all. And Misty straight up started by having Psyduck try to breathe underwater, pushing its face under, and this, of course, just made Psyduck go apeshit, as it immediately jumped out of the lake and ran away, coincidentally running towards Kinzo's house that he had returned to, confident that he wouldn't have to give the badges. However, also coincidentally, Kinzo happened to be opening up the door, also screaming something about a robbery as he opened the door, but he was then knocked down as Psyduck ran right into him, launching Kinzo into even more of a surprised state than he was in upon finding out about a robbery. Misty, Tracy, and Sakura come up and apologize for what Psyduck did, helping Kinzo up, although they heard him mention a robbery, and questioned what he was referring to, leading Kinzo to unfortunately report that people had broken into his house and had stolen the 3 badges that were made, further detailing that he was just walking back from Misty's failed attempt to battle his Feraligatr when suddenly he arrived and found that the badges were gone. Kinzo then proves that they were stolen by showing Misty, Sakura, and Tracy the safe where he had them stored, and Sakura was the first one to say that they had to go looking for the thieves, wanting the opportunity to win the Cascade badge. Misty and Tracy reminded Sakura that they didn't have any leads on who could have stolen the badges, but just then Kinzo revealed that he actually did have his suspicions, explaining that there were notorious troublemakers who would roam around the area stealing gym badges so they didn't have to work hard to get them, and also so that they could sell them to make money as well. This just motivates everyone to search for these thieves even more, as Sakura sends out a Beautyfly out by the hill and commands it to go searching for the thieves, doing an aerial search. However, before Beautyfly flies off, Misty expresses her surprise at Sakura having caught one, especially since Beautyfly was a Hoenmon, and Tracy takes the opportunity to sketch Beautyfly, seeing it in person for the first time. Anyways, Sakura sends Beautyfly with her, Misty, and Tracy following it to where it was going, while Kinzo stated he was going to go search in the opposite direction. In a very short amount of time, Beautyfly was able to locate the 2 thieves who stole the badges, who were very happy with their job, stating that it was very easy to steal badges compared to winning them. Upon seeing that Beautyfly had spotted some people, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura run back to find Kinzo, and they alert him to where Beautyfly had spotted the 2 thieves, sending Espeon there to apprehend them while they were gone. Kinzo sees where Misty, Tracy, and Sakura were taking him, and points out that the thieves had went down the main road, as that's where they were heading. Meanwhile, Espeon had arrived to confront the 2 thieves, stopping in front of them. The 2 thieves are shocked by the Espeon, and they're even more shocked as Tracy, Misty, Sakura, and Kinzo follow, and demand that the 2 thieves give the badges back. And of course, the 2 thieves refuse, as they send out their Zigzagoon and Poochyena in an attempt to stop Sakura, Misty, and Tracy, and Sakura's Espeon. However, Sakura's Espeon took action by using Tackle on the Poochyena, as Tracy It was simply just sketch the Poochyena and Zigzagoon due to never seeing them in person before, since they were Hoenmons. To get revenge for the Poochyena, the Zigzagoon uses a headbutt on Espeon, but Espeon was able to jump out of the way in time. Misty then decided to help out, as she commanded Psyduck to use Scratch on Poochyena. But it unfortunately missed the Scratch, since it was trying to hit both Zigzagoon and Poochyena and couldn't settle on a single target, so it just ended up missing the both of them, as it was moving rapidly between the two of them. So this led Poochyena to go in for both a tackle and a bite on Psyduck. And Espeon tried its best to stop this from happening by using a Swift on Poochyena, but Poochyena was able to dodge. However, the Poochyena happened to bite on Psyduck's head, so this gave Psyduck a headache. Of course, as usual, Psyduck having a headache allowed it to use Psychic-type attacks. So, as Zigzagoon then went in to go attack Psyduck as well, Psyduck used Disable to stop Zigzagoon's attack, and used Confusion to send both Zigzagoon and Poochyena directly into the two thieves, and then it uses Confusion again to lift up Zigzagoon, Poochyena, and the two thieves, and throw all four of them into a tree. Impressing even Kinzo, who thought Psyduck was a complete loser since it wasn't able to swim, who commented that despite Psyduck not being able to swim, it at least had other abilities. And just then, the two thieves, who were thrown into the tree, then get down onto their knees and apologize for stealing, since they were desperate not to have Psyduck use any more attacks on them. Kinzo then requests that the two thieves give the badges back, and they happily oblige, begging for mercy and Kinzo not to do anything to them, and Kinzo lets them go off without calling the cops or anything like that, but only when they promise to get an honest job from now on and not steal anymore. Man, I hope they stay true to that. Anyways, as the two thieves ran away down the road, thanking Kinzo for mercy, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura accompanied Kinzo back to his house. And Kinzo then admits to Misty how impressed he was with Psyduck, stating the same thing he said earlier about Psyduck at least being able to use very powerful attacks, even though it couldn't swim, and states his belief that Misty had proven her strength as a water trainer simply because of Psyduck's power, and decides to give Misty the badges because of this, saying that she passed his test, knowing that if Psyduck used its psychic powers on his Feraligatr, then Misty would have won. Misty was overjoyed to have some Cascade badges now, but before she, Sakura, and Tracy departed back to Cerulean Gym, Kinzo gave Misty one piece of advice to ensure that she stayed a worthy gym leader, reminding her to be courageous and support her friends in the time of need, essentially stating that, as a gym leader, that was part of a gym leader's responsibilities, not just battling. Misty agreed, and then turned her attention to Sakura, who was staring at the Cascade badges in awe, stating her excitement to get one, as she challenged Misty to a battle once again, with Misty accepting, since now she had the badges. Excited to actually start challenging trainers now, and she would be able to challenge 18, because there were 18 badges in the case, as you can see here, that Kinzo handed Misty. Anyways, Misty, Tracy, and Sakura then went back to the gym, and it was time for the battle between Misty and Sakura to finally begin, with Misty and Sakura both having very huge smiles on their faces, showcasing their excitement to finally see each other's full strength after a long time. The battle soon began, with Sakura, of course, using her Espeon, and Misty deciding to use her Corsola, and Espeon started off with the first attack being a tackle, which really injured Corsola, sending Corsola flying into the air, making Tracy comment how exciting this goddamn battle was, not expecting Sakura to be this strong. Misty didn't want to be outshone though, so she had Corsola respond with Spike Cannon back, but Espeon dodged this by jumping into the pool, immensely shocking Misty as she watched Espeon swim, surprised that Espeon was such a good swimmer despite not being a water type, and teasing Psyduck that it could really learn a thing or two from Espeon and learn to swim. While Misty was caught off guard by Espeon's awesome swimming abilities, Espeon took the opportunity to use Swift on Corsola, and also jumped out of the water, damaging it even more, to the point where Misty had to have it use Recover to heal itself, and then had it use Tackle on Espeon, sending Espeon into a wall, leading Misty to order Corsola to go in for a Spike Cannon to finish Espeon off. However, Espeon dodged the Spike Cannon since it was able to jump off of the wall that it was sent flying into, and then retaliated with a tackle of its own, which sends Corsola plummeting into the water, severely weakening it again, allowing Espeon to finish off Corsola with a side beam, meaning that Sakura had won the battle, as it was revealed that Corsola had been knocked out when it surfaced on top of the water. Tracy, being the referee of the battle, officially declared Sakura the winner, which surprised Misty at the fact that Sakura had gotten so good. Although, while she was disappointed that she lost, obviously, she was happy to see Sakura's immense improvement. Tracy was impressed by Sakura's skills as well. However, he also reminded Misty that she had improved since the last time that he saw her as well, complimenting her Corsola, stating that she clearly trained it well, as Misty also complimented her Corsola for doing a great job despite the loss, as she recalled it. Misty then gives Sakura what she wanted, being a Cascade badge, more than happy to, exclaiming that Sakura had definitely earned the badge. Sakura thanked her for giving her the badge, and gave Misty the Cascade badge that she made, as that apparently wasn't in the case of other badges, apparently, because Sakura must have kept it for herself. So, I think that speaks volumes to her character, if you ask me, because really, she could have just faked having the badge, because, she already had the badge. She didn't need to battle Misty for it then, but she still wanted to battle Misty anyways. So, yeah, anyways, essentially, Misty didn't even lose a badge by giving this one to Sakura, so she could still take on 18 challengers. Now, you may be wondering why Sakura gave Misty the badge that she made, but apparently it was because Sakura wanted Misty to have a token of their friendship, or some shit. Alright, fair enough. With Sakura having won her battle against Misty, she then leaves the gym to go and take on more gym battles, leaving with her Espeon. Although before she goes, she, of course, says goodbye to Misty and Tracy outside the gym. During their goodbyes, though, Tracy was also saying goodbye to Misty, stating that he had to get back to Professor Oak now, since he probably needed something. And upon hearing this, Sakura remembered how she wanted to meet Professor Oak, so suggested to Tracy that she actually come with him for a bit so that she could meet Professor Oak before continuing on her journey for badges, and Tracy happily agreed, stating that Oak would be happy to see a strong trainer like Sakura. So, with that, Tracy and Sakura set off to Oak's lab, saying goodbye to Misty, as Misty said goodbye to them as well, excited to take on more challengers now that she had more gym badges available. Espeon also ended up leaving a few seconds after Sakura and Tracy did, likely as a show of respect for Misty and her Corsolas power. Anyways, since Sakura and Tracy were gone, and Misty currently didn't have any other challengers awaiting her, she decided to take the opportunity to try one more time to teach Psyduck how to swim, as she tried to get it to breathe underwater by placing its head underwater again, but just like before, it began freaking out and ran away, leading Misty to chase it once again, complaining how Psyduck would never ever fucking learn to swim. Man, I wonder if Psyduck would ever learn to swim, bro. I guess we'll find out.